How's it, guys? Welcome to another episode of the PH Journals podcast. Today we're going to have a little bit of fun. I've cut all the seriousness out of this episode completely. We've got a week left until the competition, so if you guys haven't yet, head along to any one of my social media platforms, whether it be Facebook or Instagram. Go and have a look for this competition and make sure you guys enter. I want to give back to the professional hunting community, and what better way than giving away a free set of tires. And that's not all. There's a couple of winners that are going to come from this. We've got some wonderful leather goods. I've got some merchandise and a couple of things that just might get you through the hunting season. We've got handmade knives, like I said, leather belts, gaiters, whatever you can think of, we have got to get you through this difficult period in the hunting season. It's the start of the season. We're trying to get everything ready to go and best prepared as we possibly can for those clients coming out, and what better way to kick it off with a brand new set of tackies on your bakkie for the upcoming season ahead. So like I said, taking all the seriousness out of it, this week we're going to talk about superstition, and I've had some interesting discussions on this particular topic, and I can't wait to share a couple of these. Ridiculous, good, bad, I don't know. Are you superstitious? Let's find out. So as we know, as hunters, tradition has crept in from generation through to generation from previous hunters, bad habits, suspicion, do's and don'ts, like a previous podcast episode. I've been fortunate enough to be able to experience a little bit of the both, right? I come from a professional sporting background where I raced motocross in my earlier years up into my early teens, and then I played rugby and a little bit of professional rugby out of school. So, I mean, back in the motocross days, we had some really ridiculous superstition, and or pre-race rituals. I mean, however you want to look at it, it was unique. My dad was very superstitious. Like I mentioned in the previous podcast about all the do's and don'ts with culture and stuff. My dad grew up around closer people, and there were a lot of traditional things that we embraced it in our family, and I learned a lot from that. And then going into professional rugby and playing out of school, different individuals coming together had different pre-game rituals, from putting in your socks inside out as far as a superstition is concerned. So what are some of the hunting superstition? Now I did a bit of a research investigation online, and I found these are some of the ones that I found, and then I'm going to talk about some of the ones that I do, and then some of the stuff that I've seen in the industry. I might swap that a little bit around, some stuff that I've seen in the industry, and then end it off with what I do. So this is what I found online, and some of these are really amusing, but I've seen some of them. I mean, as professional hunters, when we get to a lodge and we bunk with other professional hunters, you tend to catch on to a little bit of these things that these guys believe in. Now, some of it has been passed down from their dads, from their uncles, whoever it may be, and then some of it has just been self-developed. They found pretty unique things. I incorporated some of them as I was growing up or growing through the ranks in the professional hunting industry. So on this episode, if you enjoy it, of course, I would love you guys to subscribe, drop a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and turn on those notifications and figure out when we're going to be releasing a couple more of these episodes. But drop in the comments what some of your pre-hunt suspicions or rituals are. It's very interesting to get different perspectives out of this, and the hunting industry being such a vast variety of individuals, there's going to be some really unique ones. So I've seen it all. I wouldn't say I've tried it all, but I've tried quite a bit, and I'll share with you what works for me. So what I found online, pre-hunt suspicions. don't talk about the hunt before it happens. Bragging about what you are going to shoot is said to bring bad luck. Now, my first opinion on this would be no. I do it. I believe in what's another word for visualization? For manifesting success. I've always believed in it. I've got visualization boards. I've got stuff on my phone that on a daily basis I look through. So I always, the night before, I pre-plan in my head. I'm going to climb up this mountain. The wind's going to be in this direction. The kudu bulls are going to come from east to west, or whichever scenario plays out best. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. Just saying. No jokes. But yeah, so for me, don't talk about the hunt before it happens. Maybe that's why we have a couple of bust hunts every now and then when I visualize too hard about that. Never put your gun on the bed. I have done this before, and I learned the hard way. I'll tell you what happened is I put my gun on the bed, and when we got to lodge, it was a brand new white linen on the bed, and I put my gun down on it because I took it out of the gun bag, and I laid it down on the bed, packed my gun bag away, started kitting up for packing my clothes into the cupboard, picked my gun up off the bed, and I saw there was a big yellow stain on there. My gun oil that I had cleaned my stock with, it was a wooden stock at the time, and I cleaned my stock with, had essentially stained the sheet. I wasn't a very popular PH around camp that night. Avoid certain foods before a hunt. Some hunters believe eating chicken before a hunt will mean they'll chicken out in the field and not shoot straight. Others say eating rabbit means you'll be as unlucky as the hunted prey. Now, I've never really heard this one before. However, the rabbit one, I know it is a forbidden food in camp at some of the European countries. I can't remember what nationality I hunted that whatever rabbits we shot when we went out springing hunting that night, if the guy shot a rabbit, we weren't allowed to bring it back to camp. I'm trying to think what nationality that was. It only ever happened once in my career, so I have heard something similar to that. But yeah, that's a very unique one for me. And majority of the hunting lodges do serve chicken. I wouldn't know too many that serve rabbit, but chicken is definitely served at majority of the hunting lodges. So that one's a bit of a new one. The first bullet curse. Some believe that if you miss your first shot of the season, you'll have bad luck for the rest of the year. Never heard that one. And I don't think I'll be suspicious or have a superstition about that one. Just means get on the horse as quickly as you possibly can and try and rectify your mistakes, I guess. Gear and equipment superstition. Never hunt with a brand new knife. A knife that has been used before a hunt is considered unlucky. Some hunters break it in by cutting something small first. I've heard this one, and a lot of the Havilon stuff. There was a guy, a Canadian gent when he was a gunsmith, and I remember I had a bunch of those Havilon blades, just the blades. We've got a lot of handles, so I had just the blades sent up to him, and when he handed them over to me, he said to me, listen, you don't plan to bring this on in the truck. And I said to him, well, why? And he said, no, because it's bad luck. And I said, well, how do I make it good luck? Because we need the blades to skin your animals. So he's like, we'll go into the kitchen and use the blades and go and cut up a carrot or something like that. And I found that very weird, but, you want to keep your client as happy as possible. So, and I hunted an old Madala. I think he still hunts, if I'm not mistaken, down towards Stackstrom area. Henry was his name. A wonderful old gentleman. I learned a lot out of that. I hunted probably about 3 years with him, and he was an incredible man. Really was. He was insanely wise about nature and animal behaviors. animal behavior instinct was incredible. He was 58 on my last year with him, and you could see his eyesight was definitely deteriorating later on that year where he got specs. But his animal behavior, he didn't rely on a lot of things that he, visualized or visuals, especially like blood and stuff like that on the floor. So what had happened is he relied on his animal instinct, behavior, understanding, and so that was it was such a unique experience. But anyway, the point of the story that I want to get to is that he never hunted with a new knife. Whenever a client would give him a new knife or something like that, he wouldn't bring it on on the hunt. However, in the skinning shed that day, if we had shot something, he would definitely be using it out there, skinning the animal and stuff. So he would break it in that way. He was very, very superstitious. I'll tell you some of the stories a little bit later on about what he used to do. Yeah, he was one of the unique ones, like not sleeping on a bed, but I'll tell you more about that. Never clean your gun right before a hunt. Some believe this washes away the gun's luck or its perfect balance from previous hunts. Well, I don't think you really wash a gun. You clean it, like wipe it down and stuff, but I don't think you wash it, unless I've been doing it wrong for a couple of years now. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's a superstition. I guess every man to his own about that. Cleaning your, I've had personal experiences about cleaning a rifle before the hunt. A lot of guys, I mean, probably more recent, I only realized that a lot of guys actually don't clean their barrels. It's got something to do with the residue and how it shoots. Look, I've been an individual that shot factory ammo since I started professional hunting. This year will be my first year, and I'm not even reloading. I've got a gentleman that's going to be doing all my reloading and my loading for me. And he actually mentioned it to me, and then I know Jean, who I've had on the podcast as well, he's an avid long distance shooter, and just a brief discussion of it. We've often had a conversation where he said no, he doesn't clean his barrel. However the bullet comes out and flies is true to how that barrel is developing. So for me, it just feels a little bit weird. I think what I normally do is I'll clean a barrel before the season starts, and then I'll go out to the range and shoot a couple of rounds through it, and then I'll use it for majority of the season like that. But yeah, I don't know how much of a superstition. Never really seen it, never heard of it till now. But yeah, a lucky item brings good luck. Yeah, of course, we've all had that. I still got it. I've got a lucky hat that I bring with, but I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that. Sorry, I'm just wondering why now this. Here we go. This is an interesting one. Animal behavior superstitions. Cows lying down mean bad hunting weather. Some hunters believe that if the cattle are lying down or laying down in the morning, the animals will stay hidden and it will slow the day down in the bush. That's an interesting one. There are a couple of species that I have been able to watch quite a bit. I know crows. I've heard the story of crows will not fly in bad weather. So essentially, if you don't see any crows in the air, I know that there's either bad weather coming or there's bad weather on the horizon, and that's ideally means it's not a good time to go out. Heard of that, but yeah, nothing about the cattle. The wind knows. The wind suddenly shifts as you're about to take a shot. It's a sign that you should wait. Bad luck is around the corner. It's that whole burnt toast effect. A couple of years ago, I'm trying to think what happened, but there was a series of events that happened that prevented me from going out in the morning. I think from a flat tire to a client dropping a knife on his foot, going into town, having stitches, coming back out. Just anyway, there was a series of bad things that had happened, And one of the older gentlemen, old Uncle Doug Snow, he always said to me, he said, "Have you ever heard of the burnt toast effect?" And I said to him, Uncle Doug, no, I haven't. He said, well, when bad things like this happen and they keep you back from going out and pursuing something, it often means that you've burnt the toast. It's a good thing. So I was like, well, that's kind of an interesting one. I'm very frustrated at the moment, but that's an interesting way of looking at it. And then hence that afternoon I think we got a really, really nice kudubul, which was a lot of fun. Post-hunt beliefs, blood on the face. Okay, we've always known that one. Traditional South African belief. Never take a victory photo before the kill is secured. I'm pretty sure you're not lifting up the head of a live animal, so that one's understandable. And then spitting on the bullet. A belief that spitting on the bullet or arrow before shooting makes the shot more true. Never heard, never seen that one. And I don't think I'll be trying it anytime soon. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Cool. So, guys, some of the stuff that I've seen in the industry happen, like mentioned before, my tracker Henry. Whenever we went to another place to hunt, he would never sleep on a bed. He would always take a mattress with and his bedding, and he would sleep on the floor. And I said to him, Henry, like, why do you do that? And he just said, no, that if you don't allow anything underneath you when you sleep, it brings good luck the next day. And it definitely, it's a very ancestral belief from the Xhosa people, I'm sure. Not one I've ever experienced until him, but it's what kept him true. And he solely believed in that. He never ate on a bed. He never sat on the bed with the other guys. He sat in his bed. He ate in his bed. It was a very weird experience for me. I mentioned the knife. And he would always fold his collars on the inside of the shirt. But in general. And I asked him that one day, and I said to him, like, well, why? So essentially where the collar would show frontwards, it would show on the inside fold. And I asked him one day, and I said to him, Henry, why do you fold your shirts like this? And he said to me, no, it's a good omen for him. It opens his neck. It opens his head to freedom. So a lot of the stuff I learned from him. And it was really, really cool. One of the guys I had that I hunted with, he would always wear his hunting socks inside out. And it was a steep tradition that he always had. No matter what pair of hunting socks he had out, they would always be turned inside out. And if those hunting socks ever got wet from dew or walking through a river or something, he would never wear them again in the hunt. He would have them washed, folded, and put away. He would never use them again. I'm trying to think of the other ones. An older gentleman, Uncle Mark Banks. I met him twice. We went up, we were hunting in the Northern Cape. And we were there culling a springbuck. And it was such a weird experience because he always... he slept with his shoes on his bed at the bottom of the bed. And he said it was just the old tradition he just had from the army. And apparently back in the day when you left school in South Africa, you were forced to go to the army. So apparently back in the day that it just steered from that. He said he fought on the border of the Angola. I think it was Angola or the Mozambican border, wherever it was. And he learned quite a bit from that. And he said it just brought him good luck. So that was one. I spoke about the knife, the belt. There was a gentleman that always put his belt on first before he tucked in his shirt, which I found that very weird. What were some of the other ones? I'm not going to mention names because I think a lot of people listening to this podcast will know who I'm speaking about. But there was a gentleman, quite a large chap. I learned a hell of a lot from him. He is extremely knowledgeable as a professional hunter. He's people skills are unbelievable. He's a true character. He didn't wear rods. He didn't wear underpants. He never wore any underwear. And us professional hunters in South Africa, we like to wear very short stuff. And the one night, I only found, this is how I found out. So the one night, me and him were hunting a family together. And there's a husband and wife sitting across from him. He's sitting on the couch, got his hands up, and he, we're relaxing, having a couple of beers after the hunt, the day. And all of a sudden, this guy's wife gets up off the couch, takes off her jacket, and goes and lays it over my fellow PH's knees and his lap. And she's like, I'm sorry, I just couldn't keep looking at me. So his nuts were hanging out on the couch, which I found freaking hilarious. And that night I asked him, I said, why do you never wear scants? And he says it's just been an age-old tradition. He says since he started hunting, he just found that underpants made him chafe, and since he took them off in the bush that day, he had such great luck that he never wore them again. And then the last one that I can vaguely remember is a gentleman always used to wipe his own windshield. He wouldn't allow his tracker to clean his windshield, and that for me was a very weird one, but a very unique superstition. He just said, brings him luck. I had one, I've had a couple. I remember during my rugby playing days, I would always put my sock on the right foot first. When I started hunting, it turned around. I'd always put my socks on my left-hand side leg first. And then when I was out in the bush, I always had to pick up a piece of grass for the first 2 hours of the day. I say 2 hours, I never really kept tabs on the time, but it felt around about 2 hours, and I put it in my mouth while I'm thinking and chewing on it. It was just something I had to do. It also just essentially calmed me down and made me think a little bit. I've got a very bad habit about sticking things in my mouth. I bite my nails, so that's not a good sign. My dogs. I would never put a harness on my dog before the hunt. I would always put it on the first day of the hunt. Just a weird thing for me. Which one was the other one that I had? I've lost quite a bit over the years, and I think superstition doesn't really... I would always make sure when I get into a room and I'm sharing with somebody, I always had to sleep against the wall. And that the superstition around that was purely based on safety. I felt a lot safer when I was against the wall, and I don't know why. But then when I was in a dormitory of somebody, even at the rugby academies, I had to sleep against the wall. Just part of relaxation. But guys, so if you've got any one of these crazy superstition that you guys do, I know the hunting industry is full of them, and I just can't think of any. And I've, for the whole day today, I've been stirring on this topic quite a bit and trying to rethink about some of the craziest ones I've heard. But I haven't really, I can't really think now. And but yeah, so if you've got any crazy ones, please let me know. Like I said, this was just a little bit of a toned down episode of the podcast. I feel like we've been having some intense discussions on here. I've got a couple of guests lined up. I'm hoping to have Doug in at the end of the month or on the 7th of May. We've got a couple planned. I'm really, really excited about this. I leave next week. No, this coming week we're heading off to Port Elizabeth. We're doing the Ironman. And then the week after, we kick it off with a blessback hunt in our local area, which I'm really, really looking forward to. And then, I've got some really exciting news that we've teamed up with another one of our, let's call it locals, but also ethical. He's been on the podcast before. Can't wait to share that one with you guys. And then we're heading into the Fella Deer Rut, and it's just been such a crazy couple of months. I just trying to get my bearings, and hopefully everything starts calming down a little bit, so we can get things straight and narrow. But like I said, these little toned down podcast episodes are a little bit fun. They might feel irrelevant to a lot of you guys out there, but like I said, the support is always appreciated, and having a little bit of fun where I possibly can also just helps me relax a little bit and takes the pressure off. So yeah, that's it for this week's episode of the podcast. Once again, stay tuned. Head along to that Instagram or Facebook page, going into that competition. You might be a lucky professional hunter walking away with a brand new set of tires. A big shout out to Falcon South Africa and the whole Stanford Tire Group for supplying those tires. It really means the world to me. But for myself, once again, if you are, happy hunting. Until then, stay safe, stay blessed, stay humble. We'll catch up with you guys soon.